Welcome to a special edition of the Heart of Bastrop Talk Show. Today is all about mental health. And I'm TJ Finn with the Heart of Texas Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Connie Schrader, Mayor of the City of Bastrop.
I tell you, Dr. Greg Cason is going to be with us, and he's got some interesting tips about how to deal with maybe some of those troubled guests during the holidays.
And Pastor Brown, who's the chair of the Salvation Army right here in Bastrop County.
Absolutely. He's got a church over in Smithville. It's amazing. And then, of course, our own Charity Rogers with the Smithville Clinics going to talk about these resources and things you need to be looking out for, not just for your own mental health, but those of your loved ones as well. So you want to take a look?
Well, we also have another special guest, and that is an author by the name of TJ Finn. Can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you. Let's take a look. So we're here with Pastor Brown, and tell us the name of your church.
It's Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church.
Mount Pilgrim, love it. And
Smithville.
You're in Smithville,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
And you're also the chairman of the Salvation Army.
Yes, ma'am.
Great,
Yes,
that's so
ma'am.
wonderful. Thank you. I know that you guys are an important resource here in Bastrop County. So can you tell us a little bit about your church first?
Yes, ma'am. Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church in Smithville, it's been in existence for 122 years.
That's impressive.
Wow, that is
Congratulations.
impressive.
And how long have you been the pastor? then? 5
Yeah,
years.
going on 6 next year. Mhm.
That's amazing.
And it's been the pillar of that community for that long. And
That's amazing.
the men and women all put that together. It's built up like an auditorium, and so you can actually, it has a bell tower, so you can actually stand up from the bell tower all the way to the pulpit, and that's how they built it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of history to it. You can look it up. I'm just glad that I got called to that church and the assignment, but I'm also been working for the last 3 years with the Salvation Army, and we help out the whole Bastrop County as far as helping people with their utility bills. We just got 80 turkeys today that we gave out to different organizations that's going to give it to families. We're doing a coat drive. We also, like for emergency situations, we help out for disasters and stuff like that. And we also do, like, anybody has a emergency situation, they can stay in a hotel here.
Wow.
So we try to do a lot.
And one of your big fundraisers is ringing of the bell and
Yes.
the kettle, right?
Yes.
So there's
Yes.
some things, I know that the Salvation Army has helped some families of friends that I know, and they never pass the kettle without making a donation to it because
That's
they have
awesome.
such a childhood memory of Salvation Army helping them out. So
Yes.
we certainly want to encourage folks to give because you guys take care of folks that need some extra help
Right.
during the holidays and all year long.
Right.
Do you know, whenever my mother was young, Salvation Army had a church in Beaumont, Texas. And my mother and her friend George Jones sang at the church at the Salvation Army, and they sang on the radio show in Beaumont. So I remember her always talking about the Salvation Army Church when I was a kid. So you're right, a lot of people have memories. And I'll never forget my dear sister, Judy, God rest her soul. She, I dropped her off at Walmart. She was probably in her 70s at the time. I dropped her off there at Walmart, and she had to go pick up something. I said, well, I'm going to come right back here. It was at Christmas time. I'm going to pick you up. And I pull up to pick her up, and the kids are all in the car, and my sister is singing Christmas carols at the top of her lungs with the Salvation Army ringing bell. My kids are like, oh God, but it was the funniest thing. It's hilarious. But you guys do a lot to help the community in all situations, right?
Yeah, and I want to let you know all the money that is given here for Bastrop County stays here. 100% stays
That's
right
excellent.
here. Because everybody, I don't want to go nowhere else, and it stays right here. So that's the good thing. We're every Elgin, Cedar Creek, Bastrop, of course, Smithville, all utility places here in Bluebonnet and Aqua, we help people with that. So I'm just excited because a lot of people, they give here in this, and we help each other. And just like she was saying, her friends of hers got help from Salvation Army. I'm from Beaumont, and I remember when the storms happened.
Yeah.
And when the storms happened, we went to Shreveport, and the first people there was Salvation Army.
There you go.
That's very
So-
true. Do you know that's the only people who helped me
Yeah,
during the hurricane was Salvation Army.
yeah.
And I was so impressed. I was
Yeah,
just
so
like,
always
wow.
give to
And I
them.
didn't ask them.
No,
They came to me and they brought me water and
Yeah.
they did all of wonderful things for, people that were stranded at the hotel
Right.
and yeah, that's a big deal. And you know why I think the Salvation Army is so powerful? Because it's you, it's people,
Right.
it's everybody coming together
Right.
to make these things happen. So-
right.
And we're talking about mental health and
Okay.
how people have different needs at different times.
Sure.
And we know that the holiday season is, sometimes people are very excited and they're very joyful, but there's a lot of sadness that goes along with
Right.
holiday seasons.
Absolutely.
And it may even be somebody that was really happy the last several years and this year's a really hard year.
Right.
So it's important for them to know that they can reach out to the Salvation Army.
Sure, exactly. I get a lot of phone calls, people dealing with a lot of mental health issues. And what I like about the Salvation Army, too, is Christian. And I get to use my gift that God has given me to minister to people and, help them out. And I do also, if it's, it's real serious mental problem, I do prefer them to go to professionals because I'm not a professional. But we have encouraged people, and they always ask, well, where's the church at? And I thank God for the Salvation Army. So you're right, with this holidays coming, there's a lot of people, that are dealing with issues with, not having a job, don't know where the food is coming. So that's why I was glad we were able to dish out 80 turkeys, to help some families. But I wish it was more. But we're going to continue to, offer our services here in Bastrop County.
Well, what if I want to donate? What if people want to give to the Salvation Army here in Bastrop? How do they do that? How do they contact you?
I can give you my number. Is area code 512-466-0679, and just ask to speak to Pastor Brown. You want to donate? Like I said, we can. We are a nonprofit, and we give 100%. Everybody's volunteer, so nobody's salary is being taken out. Just going directly to the people.
That you need to help.
Yeah.
We talked about being called to be a community, and that's what
Yes.
community does, is take
Yes.
care.
Yes.
So that's the phone number for someone to donate. Is that also the right phone number if somebody needs help?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And then what about? Let's talk about the church. So what? I'm assuming Sunday you have an open service. Everyone is welcome, and
What time?
yeah.
Our services start 11 a.m. I always say that's the worship service, but if you want to learn more, we have Sunday school starts at 9:30. Then we have an hour of power on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. for an hour where we just break down the Bible. So
Love
Excellent.
yeah,
it. I love it.
yeah.
Well, thank you for being such an
Thank
incredible
y'all.
member
Thank y'all.
of our community.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate everything that you do.
Thank y'all. Thank
Whether
y'all.
it's Smithville or Bastrop County, you can count on the Salvation Army, and make sure you reach out to Pastor Brown.
Thank y'all.
I'm here with TJ Finn, a woman that wears many hats. She co-hosts the talk show with me. She's the general manager of the Hampton Inn. She's the chair of the Bastrop Heart of Texas Chamber. And she's an author. You do everything, TJ.
Just a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Not only do you have a book that's out on Amazon Prime and people can have access to it right now, but you have a new book coming out.
I do have a new book coming out. So if you haven't figured it out yet from the people that we've talked to, I'm also in the mental health field, working on my master's in human development and counseling. And I will graduate next year and then work on my PhD in psychology. My book that's out right now is called There's a Dinosaur in My Whirlpool Bath.
Because there is a dinosaur in your
There is a
whirlpool bath.
dinosaur in my whirlpool bath. So, as many of you know, last summer I lost my daughter to stage 4 melanoma cancer. She was 26 years old. So I'm now raising my now 5-year-old grandson. He was 4 when his mom passed. And I realized in the midst of that I didn't know what I was doing. This is a different world than what I raised my children in. And I needed some really good resources to make this happen. And so, Connie, I was sitting on the side of my bath, my whirlpool bath, and I put Liam to bed, and I had me a glass of wine, and I was about to take a bath, and I reached down, and there was a dinosaur in the bottom. And so I sat on the side of the tub, and I had me a really good cry.
There you go.
I said, I can't do this, I'm too old, what do I do? And I was like, I need resources, I need a plan. And so that was the birth of the book. And the book is a resource guide for grandparents raising their grandchildren. Also for extended families raising, if you're raising someone else's child, this book is for you. And then there's also a section just for educators and counselors as well to, help them help this population of people.
For whatever reason, if there's a dinosaur in your whirlpool, you need to read this book.
You do. And I've done a national radio tour and a lot of posters saying, if you're a parent, you need this book, right?
If you're surprised with that dinosaur, or if you're not surprised there's a dinosaur, right, you may need some resources.
Need this book. It's just got thousands of resources in it. From what I'm hearing, it's been so helpful to so many people. I've heard it's the ultimate guide to raising children. I've heard, a lot of different things, but I'm glad because to me, it was my lemonade to share with the world, right?
I think that's wonderful. And many people don't realize that we have yet something else in common, and that is that I have a son that survived melanoma.
Right.
And he was stage 4, and just even hearing that diagnosis, no matter how it's turning out, it is very humbling and makes your whole world stop. And that our conversation about mental health, we all are going through things.
Right.
It gets us to your new book.
Right. And so my new book is called The Glass is Refillable. It's all about how your inner dialogue can change your life. Because Connie, a lot of people ask me, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you survived, burying a child. It's the hardest thing. And I will tell you how I survived because I said I could. It's what I told myself. And I did, and the words that you say to yourself, and I'll say this in my book, the most important words you're ever going to hear are the ones you say to yourself, right? We can talk 150 words a minute. Can't talk that fast, but at least I can. But we can talk that fast, but we think 1,500 words a minute. So at 10 times the pace that you can talk, you're telling yourself things about you. And if those are negative things that you're telling yourself, boy, you're really causing a lot of damage.
And you tend to believe yourself.
You really do, right?
And you can be hard on yourself and say, I really messed that up. I always mess things up. I've never done anything right.
Can't believe I did this.
There
How
you go.
stupid am I? Yeah, we say a lot of things. I'm too fat. I'm too this. I'm too that. And those are not truthful, and we can be our biggest cheerleader, our own worst enemy.
Well,
right?
I'll tell you, the whole idea of refillable glasses, I had, we've all heard, are you a glass half empty or a glass half full? And I was trying to be gracious because, TJ, sometimes I really do try to be gracious. And I said to someone, well, my interactions with this person, I found them to be a little more of a glass half empty kind of person. And the person that I was speaking with said, oh, they don't even have a glass. They don't know where the pitcher is. And so that, that's the extreme. And so I love the idea that the glass is refillable.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter whether it's half empty or half full, right? It is refillable. And, inner dialogue is such a huge thing for me. So Connie, we all have a monologue, right, that has been written on our entire lives from the moment we get our first cohesive thought. You know, people have written on our monologue. It's been written on by our friends, our family, our coworkers, our spouses. It's been written on by every book we've ever read, every movie we've ever watched. And that becomes a collection. That monologue is all the things that we tell ourselves that we are, right? And the truth is, we're probably lying to ourselves about quite a few things, right? Because we've never sat down and said, what are my absolute truths? What are my core beliefs? Because we spend so much time just avoiding thinking that we never sit down and actually think. Think about Socrates and Aristotle and all these wonderful, Greek philosophers who spent their time thinking, and it changed the world. And if you just spend your time thinking, you can change your own world. And maybe the world of people around you, because I'll tell you what, when people change, it causes a ripple effect.
Well, and to your point, the Greek philosophers, we're still talking about their theories today, and why am I here, and what's the purpose of life? And unfortunately, we've come to a society where it's all about consumption and instant gratification, and that can be very disappointing.
Think about what people do. We're on our cell phones all the time. We're watching a TV show. We're spending hours flipping through TikTok videos. We're doing everything we can do to avoid thinking.
Spending time with yourself.
Right. And so we distract ourselves, and and you know what? There's an exception to that time. When a tragedy happens, what happens? You get thrown in, and you don't have a choice but think.
Well, and when a tragedy happens, you set the phone aside, the TV's off, and you are dealing with reality.
Right, dealing with reality. You're in the moment. You're focusing on whatever that situation is. And if a tragedy happens and your core beliefs are not, you don't really understand them, and you don't know who you are, that makes it twice as hard to get through something like that. So I think the book it's for everyone, and I think it is life-changing. And you'll hear me say in this book, there's not one chapter in this book about common sense. This entire book is about common sense. And I would love to hear from everyone who reads it, because I really feel like there is so much in there that you will have a journey of self-discovery that it's unprecedented.
So your glass is refillable. Look forward to the book coming out. Thank you so much, TJ.
Yes, thank you. So we're here with Dr. Greg Cason, and he is a psychologist, and we're talking about mental health. And thank you for coming on and being with us today.
Oh, it's a total pleasure to be with you guys. Hi.
We're so glad that you are a Texas boy from and the University of Houston. And I hear that you've been through Bastrop. So we are very proud that we've hosted you.
I've been more than through Bastrop. I've spent many, many, many hours there because, of course, you have some of the best shops, like the antique shops and different things in Bastrop. So, and I've stopped there a million times to eat and just do other things. So, although I've never spent the night, I've always spent a lot of time there.
Well, next time you come through, you have to stay the night with us.
I will. That would be great.
Where are you located? Are you out in LA?
Now I'm in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, come spend the night with us soon. But we're so glad that you're here today, because families are getting ready to be spending some time together around the whether it's the holiday table or it's just getting together in the November and December. And you had given us a clue that there's some things you can help us do to make sure we don't have friction around the family table.
Yeah, I think if we back up to just holidays in general, we often hear about holiday depression, but I think the real culprit is holiday stress. Just because anytime you have more stress, whatever you're dealing with, be it depression, anxiety, or a myriad of other issues, those issues get worse. It's sort of like turning up the flame on a stove. So when stress goes up, everything else starts to boil. So then we look at holidays. That just really adds to it, because we have course, you have shopping, you have meal preparation, you have planning. You could feel more lonely because maybe you don't have some plans around the holidays, which can really exacerbate some problems for people. Or what's even going to happen around the family table is you may be around family members that you don't really care to be around because there may be some family friction that starts to happen as a result. Maybe someone gets too much wine in them or something and starts to say or do things that you find problematic. All of that can lead to higher problems at the holidays.
Right, right. Well, I don't know about you, Connie, but that never happens at my house.
And you're in the majority, honestly, because when they did a survey, they said that only 1 in 5 Americans are actually worried that holiday stress can cause mental or physical issues. I just say the other 4 in 5 people are just, coping because it's stressful.
Or oblivious.
Or oblivious. And 1 in 3 of us turn to alcohol to cope. So when we're coping, that's going to could exacerbate other issues.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. But I did actually.
Holidays, that alcohol is usually very readily available. So if you're starting to get stressed, it's easy to just keep pouring the bubbles, right?
Right.
Been there myself. Yes, and if somebody's walking around being a good host, they're refilling you, and then all of a sudden you're like catching yourself needing to sit down. Let's just say that.
Uncle George is hanging from the chandelier, and everybody else is like, "Okay, here we go."
The holidays too are really stressful it's not just the people who are at the dining table. I think it's inherently very stressful for the host. The host has all the upfront planning, they have the cleanup, they have all kinds of things, and they want to see the day run smoothly. And I think if we can focus on the host a little bit, that will help the people who are attending the party. I did actually come up with some rules about, first of all, if you're the host, and then also if you're an attendee. So you're somebody who, if you come in, just to help reduce stress, if I may. One, if you're the host, this is a good thing. Underwhelm yourself. So that means under schedule, under plan. So, if you're like me, you're someone who packs things in hour by hour. Typically, I always overschedule. I'm always very tightly packed. But what that does is cause a great deal of stress. When you're a host, though, we can't expect other people to follow our schedule. So we have to be very careful to take it easy first on ourselves, create lots of space, lots of time, and maybe even create certain seating arrangements or timing of things that might actually help things go a little more smoothly. And realize that as the host, when you're relaxed, your guest will take their cues from you, so they'll start to feel more relaxed and everyone will have a better time. The second one is to give each invited guest a task. Now, if you've seen Seinfeld, they actually have an episode about this. It's kind of a funny one where they all go to a party and they're all assigned a task and they have to do that for their party. But that's actually a very clever thing to do. When people have something to do, they feel useful, number one. So they're going to actually feel reduced anxiety. They'll know what to do, so they'll feel a defined role. And then they will also feel like they are contributing something. So it's more than just useful, that they're actually a part of something. So if you say, oh, hey, can you make sure the ice is always filled? Can you make sure that, get people's coats when they come in, et cetera, that's going to really help people feel much better. Here, I'll go through these fast. Sorry, I don't mean to talk so much.
Oh, we love it. Thank you. This is so helpful.
The third is to spend special time with each guest. I actually recommend, if it's a large party, 2 to 3 minutes is all you need. Everyone just wants a little piece of the host. And that's part of one of the host's jobs, is just to make everyone feel comfortable. And really just some eye contact, a hug, a touch on the shoulder. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming. That usually is all that you need as a guest. It's so appreciated, and then you feel a part of. And also, as the host, I think it's important to give permission to yourself for others to screw up.
Right.
People are going to screw up. It's going to happen. I can't tell you how many holidays. One where I was at someone's house and they were having a holiday party, and I'm not kidding. The bathroom, it was a 2-story house, and the bathroom, which was above the entryway, like somehow was already leaking. The ceiling burst through and split all the ceiling went down and split the whole front. And the entryway was a total disaster as they're trying to welcome all these people into this party.
No.
It happened as the party was happening. Another party I went to, they had a candle in the bathroom. I do this myself. I'll put a candle in the bathroom if guests are coming over. It's just a nice touch. But that candle, somebody put a towel near it, caught fire, caught the bathroom on fire. So stuff's going to happen. I mean, now those are big things, but we have to be aware that people are going to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. And as the host, we just kind of need to roll with it as much as possible. Now, let me give you some hints if you're the guest, is to make it about other people, not yourself. When we're the guest, often we think, oh, we're going to be the star of the show. There are these people. Some people want to fade into the background, but the problem children are the ones who want to be the star of the show. They want to go out and talk to everyone. They want to tell every joke, and they want to just be the king of the mountain. That's really not helpful in that. And so it's good to try to focus as a guest your attention on the other guests. Again, it helps them feel welcome, helps the host. It's all good. Number 2, this probably should be number 1, is to compliment the host. Every host needs that because they work so very hard. So no matter who the host is, your mom, your sister, a brother-in-law that you cannot stand, whatever it is, it's good to step up and say, hey, thank you. Gosh, the house looks great, blah, blah, blah. Focus on the truth. Don't say stuff that you don't believe, but there's always something nice you can say. Let's face it. There's always something. Number 3, this is tough for some people, but underindulge. So, just binging on food and drink can actually make us kind of sloppy and it makes us feel good in the moment, but we're going to feel pretty bad later on. It also can lead us to say something we shouldn't. So it's good for us to underindulge. And number 4 is to continue to make others feel welcome. Again, going back to, helping others in general. I do have a rule too. I kind of walked right through this, but it's also when you're at the family meal, don't bring up any big news. All about the meal, all about people. Some people wait till the family meal when they have everyone's attention to say they've been fired, they're coming out, they're pregnant, etc. It might say whether if it's joyous news or bad news, whatever it is, it suddenly brings the focus of the meal onto you. Really, what I recommend for people, if they've got big news, is to tell people before the party or after the party, and spend some time with each person. It's not all about you. So again, the meal is a coming together. Let's come together as a group, and you'll probably have a more successful gathering.
Love that.
That's
I love
great.
that. Yes.
I was thinking that you could even, as a guest, you could help other guests out. If someone maybe,
Yes.
if there's some friction, it could be like, TJ, isn't it nice that Greg hosted? Yeah, I'm so glad we're not having to do this at our house, or so, they've done a lot of it. So you can kind of pull somebody in, and that can help the spirit, I would think. What do you think about that?
I love that, because there are two things that will start to dissipate any kind of friction. It's one, if there's a witness. So if you walk in, see two people kind of starting to go at it, if you step in and go, "Hi, you guys, what's going on?" or something, it's going to suddenly pull things away. The other is to grab one person and say, "Oh, can you help me over here? I really need you," and just get them away from that friction.
Okay, guys, the entire time you're talking about that, I'm thinking about Marcy, who told Peppermint Patty, "Did you invite yourself to this party, or did Charlie Brown invite you?"
Oh,
Remember that from the Peanuts
of
Thanksgiving?
course,
I
of
love
course.
it. And so I'm like, yeah, you're right. Marcy kind of diffused that whole situation.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, and that's what we need to do, is just kind of be in there for each other. We're all going to step in it. Again, everyone makes mistakes, but if we can kind of be there for each other, everything goes much more smoothly.
And you may have guests that, because I tend to host a lot, and you may have guests that are late, and maybe it's that problem child that's late on purpose because they're trying to get under your skin, and maybe they just got caught in traffic. But either way, if you roll with it, if they may be anxious because they were late, or if they did it on purpose to try to stir something and you don't let it stir up, then you can diffuse that as well.
Yep.
It's a very good point. I think sometimes when you're the host, somebody comes very late, or especially if it's the problem child or the black sheep, we can be very tempted to make a comment or a remark that might actually set that person off. I think as the host, it's always good to think in terms of making other people feel comfortable. So you can hold off your comment or remark until later, after the party. Right then, just think about everybody, and that, I'm just going to welcome this person, say, "Hey, come on in, sit down. I'll make a plate for you," and we'll go from there. And that kind of diffuses things.
Gracious, if you're gracious, it can go a long ways.
Absolutely. And sometimes the best thing to say is nothing at all. Right?
There you go.
That's often the case.
Absolutely. And so during the holidays, suicide rates go up, things of that nature. People do suffer with depression. And we talked about how that's seasonal, and how it's important not just for you as an individual to recognize those symptoms within yourself, but then also that if you see those symptoms in other family members, right? So tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, the holidays are, again, the stress makes anything that you're dealing with worse. So if you're already having issues with thoughts about hurting or harming yourself, that may actually go up. But paradoxically, and this is something that I don't think is well known, we don't actually see higher suicide in general, but what we see is it might happen after the holidays,
Right,
which is really fascinating. But we look at all kinds of different things going on. We certainly see higher rates of depression going on, and that higher rates of depression may be attributable to what we call seasonal affective disorder. And there's a certain segment of the population that are affected by seasonal changes. Some people, it's winter, and especially in very hot climates like Texas, it could be summertime as well. And then we could feel more depressed. And it's primarily because we're not getting as much sun exposure or outdoor exposure. When we stay inside all the time, especially when we keep the drapes closed to reduce heat, or because it's just very dark outside, we're often more prone to feel more depressed, especially people who are more affected by seasonal affective disorder. For those people, if they can recognize that, one of the best treatments is to get a light box, which they can just sit in front of 20 to 30 minutes a day. And often that helps people who have that condition. If they don't respond to that, then it might be time to call a mental health professional.
I've heard of the seasonal affective disorder because people call it SAD, right?
Yes, that.
SAD. And I have some friends that moved from Texas and live in Oregon, and it's gray and overcast. And one of my girlfriends says, "Oh no, I don't refer to it as gray days; it's silver." And just trying to change the perspective on that. But they wear dark clothes, and it's dark outside, and it can be overwhelming if you let it.
Yeah, the people who are more prone to that often will move to sunnier environments because, we're all affected by when it gets dark earlier, we get tired at night. You feel like hibernating. Or when it becomes colder. This is just natural. It's our body just reacting to the environment. And it's adaptive. That means it helps us to survive as a species. But we also need to be aware when it's working against us in our everyday lives.
Absolutely.
So is it a good idea to gather the family up and bundle them up and go for a walk after dinner?
That was one of my grandma's things that she loved to do. So I'm very partial to saying yes there. I miss that so much. And it's very funny, after she passed, that was one of the biggest things I missed about a holiday meal, was going for a walk after the meal. So I think it's wonderful.
The Saturday after Thanksgiving, we have our annual Christmas tree lighting, and all the lights go on the Riverwalk, and they stay on through January 1st. And I hear that there are many, many families, whether it's that weekend or in the following weeks, that make a point of, after a meal, gathering up family and, get out, get some fresh air, enjoy the lights. And when you're around, you see the kids enjoying the lights and people are smiling and laughing and talking. I think that sometimes my mom used to say, change your environment.
Absolutely.
You need a break. You need to do something different. So is that old wives' tale, or do you think
not at all? No. That sounds absolutely amazing, because it's also introducing one more thing, which is any kind of, if that's happening every year, that becomes a marker. Anything we do every year, or like what I was talking about, becomes a tradition. And traditions are actually very good. They bond people together. So tradition of just going down and seeing the lights and walking along, that's going to help bond people together. It's going to help them feel better. When we feel connected to other people, we feel better. And just that nice little experience with your family, I think, would be very much an antidepressant, unless your family's a problem. But I would think the good thing about walking is you're not facing people. We have our conflict when we're facing people. Realize that. When you're walking, you're facing out like this. I often will tell people, when they have a very difficult conversation, go for a walk as they have the difficult conversation.
I love that. Yeah.
Well, and you can pick who you want to walk with.
That's right. Anytime after a holiday, walking's a good idea, because you have all that turkey.
There you go.
Get lethargic and gosh. Although we so look forward to being that kind of lethargic every year.
That's right. That's right. So if there was one piece of advice that you would give somebody, that if they, what should they be watching for in a friend or family member during the holiday season?
Any change in behavior. So if I were to give one piece of advice, is this person acting differently than they normally do? So if they're acting more manic than they normally do, more upbeat, I'd be curious about that, even though that might be a welcome change. If they were more depressed or more sullen, or they're retiring more, I would be concerned about that. I would be concerned about those things. The second, though, you didn't ask a second, but I would say also pay attention to the words they say. And number 3, don't be afraid to ask tough questions. I just noticed that you're being a little more sullen. Is there something going on? And to say, no, well, I was just concerned about you. I was concerned you might be feeling more depressed or down, and listen to what they say. Really listen. Don't try to reassure them out of it. Just listen to what they say. Just listen, empathize. and try to see if you can partner to help them. Hey, why don't you come sit by me and we'll let's play a game of cards or something. And that might really help that person a little bit and get them talking. Actually, playing a game is like the key to with kids. When you want to get a kid talking, do not sit and ask them a series of questions. What you want to do is start to play something with them, like Sorry or some game, whatever it is. And then you can pepper it in with questions as you're going, or listen to what they're saying. And they often will be more communicative at the time.
All right, TJ, we know to go for walks with our family and play
Yes.
games with the kids.
That's right. That's right. We'll get them all opened up.
What I like about both of those things is you're not looking down at an electronic device, which I think is a good thing for everybody. Put those aside.
Hallelujah. There is nothing ruder. And, some families have a good rule, which is to take your electronic device and put them in a pile at the front door. And I would say that's fine. I would treat it like cigarettes, that if you need to look at your device, you pick up your device and go outside in the front of the house and then do your device. And when you're done, put it back and come back in. So I would treat it more like that. And I think they are dangerous and they're problematic in 1,000 ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your, advice and expertise with us. And we hope that you and your family have an amazing holiday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, TJ and Connie. I hope you have a great holiday yourself.
Thank you.
We're with Charity Rogers, who is with Smithville Community Clinic. I bet I hear everybody in Smithville knows Charity.
Oh, I can't confirm or deny.
Well, there you go. Tell us a little bit about the clinic and what you do and what kind of services you offer.
So the clinic as a whole is coming up on its 10th anniversary.
Wow.
And I'll just say right now, get ready. We're going to have a gala in March. Very excited about that. That's our first big annual fundraiser. So be looking for save the date invitations for that. But it started off as just a quaint medical clinic. There was a group of people in Smithville who realized there was a need and got to work. There's a really long story that goes along with that, but please go to our website so that you can get the really great details and know the names of those people who put in the hard work. But I'll leave all that for the website. So they got started as a medical clinic. They were seeing patients maybe once a week. Over the course of time, we've evolved into, we now have medical, dental, and behavioral health services.
Wow.
I think the number we saw, I think in our last meeting, we've seen over 800 clients this year alone.
Wow.
And that number could just be a few departments. It may not be all inclusive. So that number's definitely bigger. We have services 5 days a week. And our behavioral health department started in 2019.
That is amazing. So you take insurance. How do people pay you? How does that work?
We are donation and grant funded only. So we are at absolutely no cost to the client.
Wow.
What an amazing service, because the reality is everybody needs help. It's not an economic thing. We all have issues that come up, and so you are a resource where people don't have to start with, well, I can't really afford to do that.
A no excuse clinic.
There you go.
Yeah, no excuses with us. Yeah, absolutely. And we really strive to just meet people where they are, because we're able to offer services both in person and via telehealth. We're able to work around people's schedules. There really are no excuses. We're going to work with you, and we're going to help you get the help that you need.
I love that. I've got to tell you, Connie, so I will be doing my internship with Smithville Clinic starting in the spring. and Charity is my supervisor. So I'm super excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm super excited about it because, I looked and looked and looked for a place to do an internship. And then I mentioned to a friend, I was like, I can't find anywhere to do this. I was like, I hate drive all the way to Houston, because I couldn't figure out anything in Austin that was open. And she was like, are you kidding? There is the Smithville Clinic and this is what they do. And I was like, wow, I didn't know. And I was just blown away at what you guys do for the community. It is amazing. And so now I'm telling everybody. And it's just super exciting to be able to do that internship right here in my own community. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate it. And, when we decided to do this show, we talked about the importance of mental health, especially during the holidays, right? Because our holidays are coming up. I think you and I were talking earlier, and 1 in 5 adults in the United States, what did it say? 1 in 5 say that they experience mental health issues.
And let's
right?
remember that that's reported. So that's not counting the people who just hold it all in and never talk about
And
it.
don't talk about
Well, it makes me think about the fact that for Christmas, for Thanksgiving, for any affair that you have, you're probably going to have 6 to 8 people. That means somebody at the table has got something going on.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who it is, it might be you, right?
That's
Can I
true.
speak to that for a
Please.
moment? Because as much as we want to be there for the people who are having those symptoms, we also want to be there for the family members and the friends of people having mental health symptoms.
So they can reach out to you as well.
Absolutely. If
I'm
you-
seeing my friend's personality has changed, or what kind of things should people be watching for that they should reach out to you?
I think you just said it. It's a change in priorities, just a change in demeanor. I think if you're a friend of someone or if you're a close family member, you get that gut feeling that something's not right. Give us a call. You'll talk with Christy. She's the first one to answer the phone, and she'll walk you through what the resources are and whether you yourself need a few sessions to kind of figure out what to do for your friend, or if there's other resources that you can help guide your friend to. One of the things that we see that happens often is a lot of people saw the symptoms, but nobody said anything, and the symptoms
Right.
just got worse.
Right.
And unfortunately, we live in a society where the consequences of that can be really rather severe.
Absolutely.
And to your point, you don't want to be interviewed of like, well, I knew something was going on.
Right.
Whether they harm themselves or someone else, it can be prevented if you'll speak up.
Right.
And I think people feel helpless, and that can even become a mental health problem for themselves. I know something's going on, but I don't know what to do. And you're providing an option for them.
Absolutely. I'll also put out there the new suicide hotline is 988. So just like we all know 911, we need to be teaching everyone 988. We need to memorize that, have it posted everywhere, because that's for
Absolutely.
anyone who's undergoing any kind of crisis within their mental health.
Right. And we talked earlier too about there for so long was a stigma when you said the word mental health that, if someone, if you talked about mental health or you said they were having mental health problems, they were crazy, they were, shunned from society, they were all these things. But that's ridiculous, right? So all of us at some point, whether it's because there was a death in the family, whether, there's always going to be a situation that comes up where you need that help and you need that person to talk to, right?
I like to describe it as anyone who's undergoing any kind of stressors or change. And let's face it, that's all of us.
Right.
Right?
But what are the classic ones? If you've moved, if you've lost a job, if you've newly married, newly divorced, newly had a kid, newly an empty nester. To your point, that's life. Everybody's
Right.
going through change, and change can be hard.
Absolutely. We're there for every stage of life, whether you're newly married or you've been, doing marriage for 60 years. That comes with its own stressors. So we offer individual, couple, family sessions. We can also do group sessions if that's needed. We also like to do business trainings. So if there's businesses out there that want to incorporate a little bit of behavioral health awareness into their training program, we're more than happy to help with that as well.
That's
I love
fantastic.
that. And that's, I never thought about that. I absolutely love that. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
So one of the ones that I just love to do is on personality differences. So, we start
You
off.
mean if TJ would just be more like me, we wouldn't have a problem? Is that what
Do
you
y'all hear
Right.
Do
We
y'all
need we need all parts of the body.
There you go. And that's why, you need people that are the great idea people, and you need people that are petty detail closing people.
And then you need to teach those people how to get along.
Right. And
That's
there
where
you
you're
go.
To quote a very famous book, your hands need to know what the other hand's doing.
Right.
Right. If your very organized person doesn't know what your risk taker, entrepreneur type person's doing, there's going to be conflict within a business. I think also we spend 8 to 12 to 15, 20 hours of our day at work, right?
Right.
The people around you at work are going to be the ones to recognize your mental health symptoms.
Yeah, we
Very
spend more
true.
time.
Right.
I spend more time with the people I work with than I do my husband.
Right.
So yeah, and I love that. So teaching them to look out for the signs, is it's hugely important.
Just take care of
It's
each
amazing.
other. Because you were saying that those signs, they may be small and you may not notice it. And so if you're somebody, TJ, to your point, somebody that you see several hours a day, you may pick up on something that kids that visit their parents once a week may not notice.
Right.
Right.
It can be as small as, someone who's always come to work on time. Well, now they're showing up late every 3 days. And then it's every 2 days, and maybe they just took a different route and it took longer.
Right.
Or whatever that problem is. But if we're not willing to ask, hey, what's going on? And be able to read those symptoms, be able to read those signs, then it might get worse and they might not be coming to work at all.
Right. And especially during the holiday season, suicide is a really, it's important to think about what that looks like all year long, but especially during the holidays, because people do deal with more depression and like we were saying earlier, holidays are supposed to be a happy time, but not for everyone.
Right.
And
And
so
holidays look different and feel different for everybody.
they do.
And from
They
year
do.
to year. For
Yes.
individuals.
Right. So tell me if someone needs the help from the Smithville Clinic, they just call the number, they set it up. It's just that simple.
Absolutely. Let me just first say, if you are in a mental health crisis and you fear someone's life is in danger, please call 988.
988.
988. We're all going to know that number. But if this is to a lesser degree, then you call our behavioral health line. I'm going to read it because I don't call it very often. That is 512-575-3021.
I love it. And you guys do couples counseling as well, right?
We do.
You do marriage counseling.
Absolutely.
So, that's an important thing because sometimes during the holidays, I might need marriage counseling. Or maybe my husband says that when he gets those bills in the mail. I don't know. That's usually January. But that's an
Really,
important thing
the
to-
point is that phone number is available, and you were saying maybe it's a big deal and it needs another step, or maybe you just need someone to talk to. So it's a
Right.
great first step.
Absolutely. And even if it's just the phone call to find out, hey, do you think my friend needs help, or do you think I need help? Christy's going to answer the phone. She's delightful to speak to, and she's going to be able to take you to that next step if that's where you need to go.
Yeah, so you don't have to. I love that because if you think something's wrong, you don't have to make that decision on your own, is what she's
Right.
telling her. Call and talk to someone who's a professional and who can guide you to make that right decision because, maybe it's you that's not looking at the situation the way it should be. So you never know. Thank you so much. You're amazing. And big thanks to Smithville Clinic for everything that you guys do for Bastrop County because it's a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Thanks, Charity.
That was really a great episode.
Oh, TJ, I love having those helpful hints. I like the idea of your phone, thinking about phones as cigarettes. If you need one, step aside, use it, and come back.
I love that too. Those phones can be great and they can be wonderful and we love technology, but we don't want it to take away from our loved ones and the valuable time that we spend together, because God knows we don't nearly get enough time with those we love.
Absolutely. And speaking of our loved ones, the consistency of folks saying, if you see a change, reach out to the person. If you feel uncomfortable having the conversation, if you're in Bastrop County, you now know a free place that you can call and get some professional advice on how to take
Absolutely.
care of things.
Absolutely. And that means a lot, because maybe you are scared to say something. And just maybe someone helping you to figure out how you're going to address it could make all the difference in the world, even save someone's life.
Absolutely. We learned that graciousness goes a long, long way. And we learned that every dollar you donate to the Salvation Army stays right here in Bastrop County.
Absolutely. We love it. And we have some special news to share with the folks all about season 6, right? We're going to shoot our next season at our brand new film studio out at Spiderwood Studios 969. So we're really excited about that. We've also, guess what? We are now doing the Heart of Texas Kids Calendar Model Contest with Bastrop Photography. So if you have a child, newborn, all the way up to age 17, they can enter the contest totally free. They'll get a free photo shoot, get to check out our new studios.
All right.
Yes, I love it. So if you'll go to bastropphotography.com, or you can send us a text, and let me see if I can remember the number, 512-718. Never mind, just look at the bottom of the screen. And we'll see you next season.